The story of the Antikythera mechanism begins not in a dusty workshop, but in the silent, crushing depths of the Aegean Sea. In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers sought shelter from a violent storm off the coast of the island of Antikythera. When the tempest subsided, they decided to explore the waters where they had anchored. One diver, Elias Stadiatis, surfaced with a tale of a horrifying sight: a heap of rotting corpses and horses on the seafloor. The captain, Dimitrios Kontos, initially dismissed it as a hallucination caused by the immense pressure. However, when he descended himself, he discovered the truth was far more astonishing. It was not a graveyard of men, but a graveyard of statues, the cargo of a Roman-era shipwreck. This accidental discovery marked the beginning of the world's first major underwater archaeological excavation. Among the treasures of bronze and marble, a far more cryptic object was recovered. It was a lump of calcified, corroded bronze, initially overlooked as just another piece of wreckage. Months later, at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, this unassuming lump split apart. The break revealed something extraordinary within, a complex system of interlocking gears. This was the first glimpse of the Antikythera mechanism, an object that would rewrite the history of technology. Initial analysis was baffling. Nothing so mechanically complex was believed to exist from antiquity. The prevailing wisdom held that such gear trains were an invention of the late Middle Ages, at the earliest. This single artifact suggested that ancient Greek knowledge was far more advanced than ever imagined. For decades, the mechanism remained an enigma, its true purpose shrouded in mystery and debate. Early theories were tentative, ranging from a navigational tool to a simple clock. The breakthrough came with the advent of advanced imaging technologies like X-rays and gamma rays. These non-invasive techniques allowed researchers to peer inside the corroded fragments without causing further damage. What they found was a breathtakingly complex system of at least 30, and possibly more, bronze gears. The gears were cut with astonishing precision, featuring triangular teeth characteristic of early clockwork. Inscriptions, barely legible on the corroded surfaces, were painstakingly deciphered. These texts acted as a user manual, confirming the device's astronomical purpose. The front dial displayed the Greek zodiac and an Egyptian calendar. Pointers, now lost, would have indicated the positions of the sun, the moon, and the 5 known planets. The mechanism correctly modeled the sun's variable speed through the sky, using an ingenious pin and slot mechanism. It also tracked the phases of the moon with a dedicated secondary display. Back dials were even more sophisticated, predicting both lunar and solar eclipses. It operated on the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period used to reconcile lunar and solar calendars. Another dial tracked the timing of the Pan-Hellenic Games, including the Olympiad. This complex gear device was, in essence, the world's first known analog computer. It was a mechanical cosmos, a miniature universe in a box. The evidence overwhelmingly points to its function as a sophisticated astronomical calculator. It was a tool for predicting celestial events with remarkable accuracy. This was not merely a theoretical model. It was a practical instrument. An astronomer could use it to know when to look for an eclipse or where a planet would be. The level of astronomical and engineering knowledge required to build it is staggering. It implies a long tradition of mechanical engineering that has been otherwise lost to history. However, this consensus has not entirely silenced an alternative, more provocative theory. Could the Antikythera mechanism have been something less than a master astronomer's tool? A recent, controversial hypothesis suggests it might have been an elaborate toy. This argument centers on the potential for mechanical inaccuracies and jamming. Proponents of this toy theory argue that the device's complexity was for show. They suggest that hand-cut gears would have had inherent imperfections. These small errors, when multiplied through the complex gear trains, could lead to significant inaccuracies. Simulations based on this premise show the mechanism could lock up or provide faulty readings. If it couldn't be relied upon for precise data, what was its purpose? The toy theory posits it was a demonstration piece, a rich person's plaything. It was designed to impress, to show off the owner's wealth and sophistication. Its function was not to calculate, but to delight and to awe. It was a conversation starter, a piece of philosophical art in motion. This is not unlike modern luxury watches with transparent backs showing their complex movements. The beauty and complexity of the mechanism itself were the main point, not its output. Perhaps it was an educational tool for a young nobleman, teaching the basics of the cosmos. In this context, perfect accuracy would be secondary to demonstrating the general principles. The idea is compelling, as it reframes the object from a scientific instrument to a social one. It acknowledges the incredible craftsmanship while questioning its practical application. However, the mainstream view strongly refutes this toy hypothesis. Most experts argue that the device's design features point to a serious scientific purpose. The inclusion of eclipse prediction, for example, is highly specialized information. This is not data one would typically include in a simple toy or demonstration piece. The Saros dial, which predicts the 18-year cycle of eclipses, is a tool for a dedicated observer. Furthermore, the inscriptions are technical, not decorative. They describe astronomical phenomena with scientific terminology. This suggests the intended user was educated in astronomy. Cicero himself wrote of such a device, created by Archimedes. He described it as a bronze sphere that modeled the celestial motions. While the Antikythera mechanism is not a sphere, the principle is the same. This historical account confirms that such devices were known and respected. They were not considered mere trinkets. The argument about mechanical inaccuracy is also debatable. We do not know the exact manufacturing tolerances the ancient Greeks could achieve. It's possible they were far more precise than the toy theory allows. The surviving fragments show an incredible level of skill and consistency. Any errors might have been minor, not catastrophic to its function. The device could have been calibrated or adjusted by its user. The debate, therefore, hinges on the interpretation of its complexity. Is it the complexity of a functional tool or the complexity of a decorative object? The majority of researchers remain convinced it was a star tracker. It was a product of a sophisticated scientific tradition, likely centered in Rhodes. The astronomer Hipparchus, who worked in Rhodes, studied the very anomalies, the mechanism models. It is plausible that the device is a physical manifestation of his theories. The purpose was to solve a real problem, tracking the heavens. It was a research tool, a teaching aid for advanced students, and a testament to human intellect. The toy theory, while intriguing, lacks the weight of evidence. It relies on speculation about inaccuracies that we cannot definitively prove. It also downplays the specific, technical nature of the device's functions. Why create a toy that predicts something as obscure as the metonic cycle? Why inscribe it with technical instructions if it was just for show? The most logical conclusion is that it was built to be used. It was a serious piece of scientific equipment, the pinnacle of Hellenistic technology. The enigma is not whether it worked, but that it existed at all. It represents a leap in mechanical engineering that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. It is a ghost from a lost world of technological marvels. The debate between star tracker and toy is a debate between function and form. Was it a tool for the mind or a jewel for the eye? The evidence points to the mind. The Antikythera mechanism was a calculator, a predictor, a teacher. It was designed by a genius, built by a master, and used by a scholar. The idea of it being a mere toy seems to diminish its true significance. It is a testament to a lost branch of human ingenuity. The shipwreck that concealed it for 2 millennia both preserved and obscured its story. Today, as we reconstruct its form and function, we are resurrecting that story. The final verdict remains written in the language of its gears, and they speak not of play, but of the profound, earnest desire to understand the cosmos. It was a philosopher's guide to the galaxy, crafted in bronze. Purpose was not to amuse, but to enlighten. It connected the earthly realm with the celestial dance. Each turn of the crank was a journey through time and space. The toy theory feels like a modern projection of cynicism. It underestimates the passion for pure knowledge in the ancient world. The mechanism is a silent rebuke to the notion that past ages were simple. It shows a level of mechanical thinking we thought was unique to our time. The object's sophistication is its strongest defense. A toy does not need a pin and slot anomaly corrector. A plaything does not need a Fourier Olympiad cycle dial. These features are hallmarks of a device with a serious, data-driven purpose. The Antikythera mechanism was likely a prestige object, but that does not make it a toy. A king's sword is a symbol of power, but it is still a weapon. Similarly, the mechanism was a symbol of knowledge, but it was still an instrument. It was a star tracker, a product of genius, a treasure of the ancient world. Its rediscovery reminds us how much history lies hidden, waiting for a curious eye. The debate will likely continue as new details are uncovered. But for now, the cosmos in a box stands as a monument to lost science. It was a machine to model the heavens, not to entertain a dinner party. The complexity was for accuracy, not for amusement. The inscriptions were for instruction, not for decoration. The purpose was to bring the celestial down to the terrestrial. It was a tool to grasp the divine clockwork of the universe. The Antikythera mechanism was no toy. It was a key. It was a key to understanding the rhythms of the sun, the moon, and the stars. It sought to capture the poetry of the cosmos in the cold, hard logic of bronze gears. This was a serious endeavor, born of curiosity and brilliance. The shipwreck was a tragedy, but it was also an act of preservation. Without its 2,000-year sleep in the sea, the object would have been lost forever. It would have been melted down, its genius unrecognized and forgotten. The ocean saved it for an age that could finally understand its worth. The enigma persists, but the central truth seems clear. This was a star tracker, a marvel of science, a light from the ancient world. It is a story of human ingenuity at its most profound. The device tracked the sun's position in the zodiac. It modeled the moon's irregular orbit using an epicyclic gear system. This was a feature of breathtaking sophistication for its time. It showed that Greek astronomers understood these complex orbital variations. The mechanism's existence proves this knowledge was not just theoretical. It was applied knowledge, turned into a functional machine. Therefore, calling it a toy ignores the scientific problems it was built to solve. Its heart is not that of a plaything, but of a calculator. The Antikythera mechanism remains the most complex artifact from the ancient world. It is a singular testament to a forgotten chapter in the history of science.